Apocalypse now!
That wasn't half as cool as I wanted it to be.
I'm so wasted.
I'm sponsored by God.
Directed by Francis Ford Coppola, Apocalypse Now stars Martin Sheen, Marlon Brando, Robert Duvall, Harrison Ford, Frederick Forrest, Sam Bottoms, Lawrence Fishburne, and a bunch of other very talented, incredible actors. So the movie is set in Vietnam, and Captain Willard, played by Martin Sheen, is sent on a secret mission to assassinate Colonel Kurtz, played by Marlon Brando, who has set himself up as a kind of god of a tribe way out in the middle of the jungle. That's right, Marlon Brando is a cult leader. I might join that cult. Probably teach me how to act. Now, quick disclaimer, the version that I saw of this movie was the Apocalypse Now Redux version, which is 3.5 hours long. Okay, and so I'm pretty sure most of my critiques of this movie are simply because the movie was 3.5 hours long, and it was the Redux version. The regular runtime of this movie is like about, I think, 2.5 hours. Watch that version, because this Redux version, I was honestly like, I understand why these scenes that were added for this cut were not in the original theatrical cut, because the movie's slow. It's really slow. It's very good, but it's just like, there are whole parts of the movie where I was like, yes, it has a point. It's like political, social commentary. I understand that, but it's slowing this movie down. It's kind of pointless to the overall plot. I just don't want it. So watch the theatrical cut if you're gonna watch a Apocalypse Now. But let's talk about the things I really liked in this movie. The performances were great. Okay, Martin Sheen, terrific. For like a lot of the movie, I was like, is that Charlie Sheen? What? There's no way no. But yeah, of course it wasn't Charlie Sheen, because Martin Sheen is Charlie Sheen's dad. Whatever. He was great, Martin Sheen. Loved him. Harrison Ford was really only in the movie for just about like a cameo. He was in it for very little, so if you're looking for a big Harrison Ford movie, big Harrison Ford role, don't go to Apocalypse Now. Marlon Brando's performance was, he's Marlon Brando. It was great. It was great. And the character of Colonel Kurtz, really fascinating. I mean, this movie's crazy. All of the main characters are very well developed and very interesting. One of the things I loved about this movie was the chemistry between the characters. You really got to see Vietnam. I think Francis Ford Coppola, whenever he was asked about this movie, and I asked about it being about Vietnam, he said, "No, my movie isn't about Vietnam. It is Vietnam. This is what it was really like." And I think this movie did a really good job of showing the harshness and just brutality of the Vietnam War, and you got to see the toll that it takes on the soldiers. I also must say that there were some really hysterical moments in this movie. Like the chemistry between the characters it's on point. I loved the surfboard guy, the captain who was obsessed with surfing. It was hilarious. I think that was Robert Duvall. I can't remember, but he was so funny. I mean, just like the whole movie had a lot of humor and had a lot of heart, and you really cared about the cast and the characters, which is, obviously the point of any movie. I think, though, perhaps my most favorite thing about Apocalypse Now, I mean, it's great cinematically, the cinematography's great, it's extremely well shot, extremely well acted, it's great music, but I think my favorite thing in Apocalypse Now was the mystery of Colonel Kurtz and how Martin Sheen's reading about him for the whole movie. He's trying to figure out who this guy is and what he should expect. And then when you actually meet Colonel Kurtz, it's really freaky. And it really, this movie is ultimately about the chaos of war and the madness of war. It will turn anyone insane. Basically, what this movie is about is for us to really win a war, we have to become animals. I mean, that's what you have to do. And the movie is in many respects, almost you could say an anti-war movie, but it's more of like a I don't know, it really it's just showing the things the way they might have been. And I thought it was really good. I really dug this movie. Another theme that the movie really touches on is his hypocrisy. They really touch on just the hypocrisy of war and how America in the Vietnam War was, we're the righteous ones, but we also kind of do the same exact thing as some of these other countries. but just in a different way and by different means. And so that was, it was some good political, social commentary that was certainly relevant to those times. And the ending of the film is great. It's great. It's crazy. Just everything with Brando is awesome. The horror. For me, I would watch Apocalypse Now again, and I do plan to, but I am never going to watch the Redux version again. I really don't recommend it. Like, the Lord of the Rings extended versions, they're great because they add a lot of, like, stuff that is actually, like, really, really cool and has a certain purpose in a way. I mean, it still works without those scenes, but, with those scenes, it makes Lord of the Rings is even more interesting. And Apocalypse Now, I just felt like the added scenes were just added scenes, and I was like, I don't really want these in the movie. It's kind of just doesn't fit. So I would recommend that you watch the theatrical cut, which I'm sure is better. But overall, my experience with Apocalypse Now, I think it's a great movie, and I do plan to watch it again. It's not one of my favorites of all time, but who knows? Whenever I watch the actual theatrical cut, I may change my mind. But until then, I'm going to give Apocalypse Now an A. So tell me, have you seen Apocalypse Now? If so, comment below and tell me what you thought of it.
And as always, if you like this video, please like it and subscribe. Tell your friends about the channel. And never forget to be...